Never planned any of these, these for me to become a marketer or go into tech, right? I don't think my parents, coming as, an immigrant household, we didn't really plan these things out that far in advance. Cal is a very competitive environment, and I think in a sense it definitely pushed me to, explore different avenues where I would have thought, it pushed you to your limit. And I think that a lot of the students here kind of tested that. You come into Cal, some people don't have a plan, and then they're forced to have some plans. Or some people have plans, and all the plans are screwed up, and now you have no plans. I had several experiences working with several established companies within the Bay Area, especially with Samsung and Apple. And in those capacities, I've had the opportunity to lead some of the most beloved brands around the world through social, content, and digital marketing. And as of late, I recently joined a fintech startup. They're called SelfScore, and currently they're head of content and brand development. I think a lot of the time at Cal, you compare yourself to other people a lot, and you're trying to go to the traditional route because that's a safer route, right? And I think looking back, when I did marketing, when I first started at Cal, marketing wasn't really that big of a thing at UC Berkeley. And at times people ask me, oh, why aren't you doing the ABC? Or like, you look more like an accountant than a marketer. Marketing doesn't pay well, the ABC is where all the money's at, right? Where a lot of those grow, I think for some people that, enjoy working kind of more analytical using spreadsheet, that's something that they thrive in, right? For me, I felt that I thrive in other environment. And that's when I decided to do other roles such as, I would say marketing, sales, HR, that has more of a human touch to it. After trying out all three of those roles, social media stuck with me because I just felt that that was a platform for people to communicate, not just for marketer, but for individuals. Journalism from an individual perspective, right? A lot of people that captures things on social media. That's probably one of the most powerful pieces of marketing that any marketer, any brand can have, is that for people, everyday people, to capture those moments for you. My first, marketing role was with a startup called Prezi in San Francisco, and at that time they were still a fairly small team, and I joined as during their inaugural ambassador program. And in that role I was able to do a lot of scrappy grassroots marketing. That's where I kind of got my first official social media marketing experience, where I ultimately worked with the university to run all of the social media account for UC Berkeley. So across from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, those were stepping stones to getting my first more of corporate role with Samsung, and then ultimately, launching one of, Apple's recent, social media initiative. And I think all those started from that one, internship when I was still in school. In a sense, I see it as instructional marketing. As a marketer, you're trying to, I would say, synthesize the story they're trying to tell, right? And you're trying to break that down to bite-sized pieces for your audience, for your customer. Growing up, I knew that I wanted to do something that involved teaching, involved really working with people, but I didn't know what it was, and I think that's where I advise a lot of current students to, instead of trying to look for a job, think about more of a career, right? Think about things that on a given day that would make you happy, right? So things, don't think about nobody's born a good marketer. People are born good communicator. People are born as someone who they like to communicate with, someone who likes to communicate, someone like to engage with other people. So find those skill set and then fit that, kind of mold that into a career or to a job that you find fulfilling. And I think you just have to trust yourself, and whatever you do, you need to be confident that you'll be the best at it.